Welcome back to Why This Beer, the show where we dig into the people, stories, and experiences shaping the craft beer we love. I'm Azlan Graves from Main Street Brewing, joined as always by Darren Binnema of Neighborhood Brewing and Yellow Dog Penticton.
Hello, everyone.
And today, after talking with Jeff Krakowski, he first told us of Olivier Moreau back in episode 13. We knew we had to make this conversation happen. Olivier of Tonnellerie Moreau is one of the rare coopers who came into the craft through beer rather than wine or spirits. From maple brulee barrels and his work with Pete Caribou to repitching fooders at Godspeed, he's bringing a brewer's perspective to the ancient art of coopering and shaping some of the most exciting wood-aged beers in Canada today. Welcome, Olivier.
Thank you very much. Thank you for welcoming me.
Yeah. We'd like to just start this out with a bit of an intro about you. What was your journey in brewing?
Yeah, exactly.
And then eventually cooperage.
And eventually cooperage. Yeah, it's a lot of people wonder where. A lot of times people say how did you start this cooperage gig, or how did you get into coopering? And I mean, probably it was through beer. It was through microbrewing. It was even more so with mixed fermented beers. Homebrewing for I would say close to 7-8 years between when I was 21 years old to brewing beers in the east of Montreal with some friends, right? The classic brewing at home story. Yeah. And
what was the first brew? Do you remember?
Oh my god, there was
and was it drinkable?
It was, because it was actually, the story is it was already a bunch of home brewers that knew what they were doing, where I didn't really know much about fermentation at the time, right? So long time ago. I think it's close to 17 years ago now. So it's been a bit. It's been a minute. But I think
you were in good hands.
I was in good hands. Yeah, I learned from the guys. I learned from the best. I started reading most of the literature that all of us read. But no, I think the first beer I brewed was. I don't remember. There was a couple brews that we made. We made first IPAs and double IPAs. Then there wasn't much double IPAs at the time. We did a lot of red beers and oat stouts, oatmeal stouts.
Yeah, mead.
We were fermenting a lot of stuff as well. But it was all done in my big Montreal flat, so it was a really fun place to. There was even a place that was not really warm in winter, so we were even doing lagers at the time.
There you go.
Perfect.
on control lagering for sure.
Yeah.
So I think that's how we did for a couple of years, and then we started organizing our own little illegal brewery, if you can call it that. And then I found in a back alley a garage where I at the time my way of earning was through renovation and also movie sets. I was working on movie sets as a carpenter, so I needed a place to just set tools, and then I found that garage right behind my apartment. And then on top of that apartment was it was so weird. It was just this place that was left as is, and the guy rented it for us for real cheap. We renovated the whole thing, and we had our own little brewery that is still
little
found.
Speakeasy.
Speakeasy. You can still find it on Facebook. I think there's still tons of picture of that place. That was actually pretty dope. I can probably link it to you guys after if
What was the name of your little homebrewing collective?
We didn't really have a name at the time. We called it the Twisted Brewery or something in French, like a micro tordu. But it was really nice. We had just a little reception where we had our beers, that just drinking beer, preparing recipes, and just hanging out. And then in the bathroom that we tore through, we made a milling station. So we just had everything separated from the brew section, so that we didn't have too much of that malt dust going everywhere. It was really nice. And then we had the brew system. It was a 1.2.
So you had your own little explosion proof room.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah. We didn't really know much about explosion, but at the time,
up to code.
Yeah, exactly. So we did 1 hectoliter, 100-liter batches, a 3-vessel system, so hot liquor tank, mash tun, and boiler. And then we had a little fermentation room. So we pretty much got like we just closed up a place, put an AC, and had whole sorts of carboys and little fermenters, and eventually at the time, that's when we started playing with mixed fermented beers. But that's when we got our hands on a barrel, and that's more or less when the spark, when all of that, the barrel and coopering really piqued my curiosity at the time. That really turned my head as to what was that object? What, like. Yeah, everybody knows if you ask them what a barrel is, they know, right? You know what a barrel is. You've seen Game of Thrones and all, but actually learning how to make it was a whole adventure.
In those early days, what were some of your references that you were using? Were you using like Milk the Funk or like?
I did, yeah. I actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I might gonna need your help on the titles. I think there was Wild Beers as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Wild beers or wild brews, I think. Yeah.
Or wild brews, weeded beers as well. And I did go through the water, malt, yeast. Water was dreadful. That was poor.
Water's the book I bring on the airplane if I want to sleep.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But I remember, and hops and everything. And so I did a whole lot of reading to kind of like push through and understand what we were doing. And the love of like re-fermenting wild beers or mixed fermented beers in bottles, getting the carbonation right, all that kind of stuff was really cool to me. We even ended up buying a microscope at some point and doing our cell counts. And it was like pretty advanced, I would say, home brewing, or at least a good level of control.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I mean, I think at that point it was getting pretty serious. So we wanted to open a microbrewery, which we did. But due to lack of funds and private funding, we went for the most obvious option, which was contract brewing.
Okay.
In Montreal, you had many breweries then. So, and there was actually one that opened that was focused on contract brewing. It was a Schlag brewery. And so we started the microbrewery called Matera Brewing Company. It was a brewery a brand and a brewery that was focused on barrel aged beers. We had our core 3 beers that were clean beers. Like we had a session IPA, we had a double IPA, we had a saison, a French saison style with rice, basmati rice, and then we had our So those were really fun. They were the beers that we brewed so many times for so many years that we put to market at first. So and then so very quickly, wanting to be specializing in barrel aged beers, we started looking at where to buy barrels. I was at the point already in my other jobs or attempts of finding experience in coopering. I actually, there was one cooper in Quebec that I worked for. I worked for him for a handful of months making new oak barrels for winemakers. So
neat.
So that's where I learned how really focus on how to make staves, how to bend staves, how to raise a barrel, making headings or heads. Maybe proper way to call them would be heads, and making hoops, riveting hoops. So the whole So
everything.
So the whole everything. Yeah, it was a small scale cooperage. So it was it was a good school. It was a good school time, and then that company, the Matera Brewing Company, was happening. We had my partner Ug at the time, who was a beer professional, a beer sommelier with the German Institute. It's I'm forgetting it. I'm forgetting the name.
Viking. German Brewing School.
VLB or
VLB, it was through VLB, exactly. So ended up going to Germany with him representing Canada as beer sommelier, and there was a congress there. I met a handful of other coopers, and that's basically what kickstarted the company that I run today, which is Moreau Cooperage, or Moreau Tonnellerie. And it was basically just started importing used barrel for other brewers, right? So I knew Quebec brewers a lot through festivals and other events. So I called a whole bunch of them And then we started doing containers, more or less sharing. Like there was a small margin. It was very, very a quick learning curve. Yeah, importing containers in Canada. Let's say the first one didn't make that much money, but it was
more
really
of a passion project.
More of a passion project. Yeah. Not everyone was really seeing it at the time. I mean, even me, I was like, what is going on? You know, we're importing. What's going to happen? Are they going to search for it? They did. It cost quite a lot of money. But the guy that we were buying the barrels from, a German cooperage, we're buying barrels from all over the world already. So we, in that container, we had a mix of all kinds of stuff, like red wine barrels from Bordeaux, tequila barrels from Mexico that he was importing in container loads. So they were pretty big already. Oh, wow. Yeah, I think we did a vermouth barrel, we did a marsala barrel, so like sweet wine barrels and other dessert barrels, some Scotch whiskey barrels, single malts. So yeah, so I think that's when it kickstarted for me. I was like, okay, so making barrel is good, it's fun, and it's a great dream, I would say. But before I know the market more, making barrels is not something that anyone can venture easily because of the capital cost, the starting capital cost of a company like that. So again,
right. So that's kind of how you've moved into kind of like brokerage, and then like also and then repairing, coopering.
Yeah, exactly.
Those barrels. So with your model, you're bringing in barrels, but how, like, is there any details or like quality variances that you look for when you're prepping a beer or prepping a barrel for beer versus like for spirit? Because I think most people are looking for spirit. The majority of market, I guess, is looking for spirit or wine.
Mm-hmm. Well, so as we started importing, obviously, I would say 90% of the clients were brewers, and I was coming from a brewing side, being very sanitary practices, right? Being very clean, not wanting beer to spoil. So I think that, you know, most of the barrels that we started selling, I kept an eye on sanitation. That was like my main focus. I mean, we're never safe when we buy a barrel. Obviously, there's always a tiny risk, more than you know, just using plain stainless. But sanitation was like the first thing that you want to look for. So like when you buy barrels, so me as a supplier buy barrels, you buy barrels from me, but the same thing goes, is like, is there a bond, right? Is there a bond the whole way between the moment that barrel is dumped at the facility and then all the way to, you know, to your facility. So that's like one of the good things, because anything can go in dust. I mean, and when I say anything, I have pretty funny anecdotes of like anything, like
crawling into a bunghole.
Weirdest thing that you've found so far.
Well, let's deep dive in that weirdest thing that we found in a barrel. So it's actually a very known brewery here in Quebec that found it. It was an untouched, unbroken can of Mountain Dew that the brewer found in a bourbon barrel. And I shit you not, he sent me a picture, and if so, for anyone out there that have seen bourbon barrels before, the bunghole where you transfer your beer is about 2 inches wide. A can is about 2.5 inches. So the fact that it wasn't crunched and it was like intact in the barrel meant
it would have been put in when it was disassembled.
It was put in before the Cooper, the manufacturer of like American barrels, was putting the headings, and then I don't know, maybe his Mountain Dew can fell in it, and then it passed the test, and then it went to a bourbon distillery, and they filled it with bourbon for many years, and then they emptied it, and it arrived at our place, and we sent it to the client, because although we check we have sanitary practices, when you buy like 300-400 barrels at a time, you don't check every single one of them inside.
You don't disassemble each one.
You don't. They usually have like a wooden bung that's jammed and crammed in there, so you can't really pluck it without breaking it. So we don't. We look for about 20% of the lot, and then we send the rest. So yeah, that was a funny anecdote.
I wonder if he drank the Mountain Dew.
Exactly.
That's a well-aged Mountain Dew now at this point.
Exactly. That's a refined can. So
barrel aged.
It's a barrel aged Mountain Dew, exactly. So so sanitation is one thing, and obviously the barrels made out of staves, and those staves are bent, so you definitely want to look for cracks. I know a lot of you say, well, I had barrels with cracks that didn't leak and it was fine, and I still use it today, which is fine because they're probably surface cracks, so they seem deep, but they're still pretty much on the surface. But yeah, damages to the barrel head,
Right.
where the head of the barrel fits in perpendicularly to the stave. Sometimes that the end of that stave can break, right? So that where the profile is. So usually you find those leaks in this area of the barrel, so you have to watch out for that as well. So
yeah. So how is it different when you're selling barrels to like distillers and I guess winemakers too? Are they less picky about sanitation? I'm sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think this is when also we kind of like brought back traditional coopering, is when we started working with distilleries. So both distillers making maybe Canadian whiskey and brewers making all kinds of beers, bourbon barrel aged. Let's take the bourbon barrel for example. I'll be buying about 300 barrels at a time. It's pretty much as many as you can fit in a truck. All these barrels are coming in cooperage, and then we sort them, and then all the ones that are broken, basically, well, we'll put a mark on it, we'll repair it, so we'll pull the stave that's broken, we'll change it with a new one, and from another bourbon barrel of approximately the same size, and and all the other barrels that were untouched, that don't have cracks, that are fresh and that are fresh and sound, those can go to breweries, because we're not going to. So basically, we don't send to brewers because of fragility of the product. We don't send the barrels that we've opened even momentarily, because the repair lasts for about 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and then the barrel's back and tight and watertight. So, but we don't send it back because obviously our shop can have wood dust or anything like this, and beers could experience lactobacillus or other deviations. So so that's how we do the separation.
I guess if you're filling it with like 40 proof or higher spirit, it's gonna be pretty impervious to some like
for them it doesn't
that kind of stuff, right? It's sanitize the barrel if anything.
No, exactly. A lot of brewers when they transit to becoming distillers are like, wow, a new world is unfold.
Yeah.
Hey, quick shout out to our friends at Hops Connect Canada. They've been hooking up brewers with quality hops for over a decade.
Yeah, started on a farm in Pemberton, and they got warehouses across BC, Ontario, and Quebec. Super reliable, and they actually get what brewers need.
They've got all the classics: Citra, Mosaic, Amarillo, Eldorado, Cascade. The list goes on, with lot selection starting at just 100 kilos.
But what we've really been digging lately is their liquid hop lineup. Total brew day game changers.
Yeah, stuff like Flex for bittering without the wort loss, Incognito for whirlpool flavor without the mess, and Spectrum for dry hopping with no hop creep.
I'm also a big fan of Hop 8 Anti-Foam. Less foam, higher tank fills. That's a win.
And if you're chasing that haze, Hop Haze keeps it locked in for up to 12 months. No flavor impact, just stable haze.
They've even got a brewing calculator on their site to show you just how much time and margin you can save. Super handy when you're dialing things in.
So yeah, if you're brewing in Canada, check out Hops Connect.
Solid people, solid hops. Hops Connect Canada, your partner in craft.
Yeah.
And with with you being bilingual, I assume bilingual. Do you know more languages? I'm not sure.
I would say bilingual, but I did live in China for quite a while, so I can express myself in Mandarin, but it's not enough to, let's say, do business. I think it's more than survival skill. I can talk about beer in Chinese, but it's now that I don't live and practice anymore, it's kind of like fading away.
Harder to sell barrels. Yeah.
Harder to sell barrels, yeah.
Yeah.
But we do sell in China, so it helps.
There you go.
So it's enough. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you're telling me that you've developed some unique relationships with European partners and especially in France, being French speaking, and bring over some unique barrels. What are some of the barrels that you've used with like the Le Fol, like the beers that we've got here? We've got the Pale Ale and then the IPA.
I think exactly.
Know?
So there's the Pale Ale and the IPA. Can you show the label again for the Pale Ale? I think they are in red wine barrels.
Yeah, that's that guy. It's not much details on the bottle. I was trying to look it up, but
it's from Le Fol.
Le Fol, yeah, Le Fol Brewery.
Yeah,
in Quebec.
Exactly. So Le Fol Brewery is a project of Mr. Greg and Paolo. Both of them are friends and old brewer friends from Quebec City. All right, so you can find them in Quebec City, but their project is really cool. I think Greg now works for a distillery. Le Fol is almost a full-time job for them, and Paolo has a brewery called Emporium, a brewery and a pizzeria. So Paolo is Italian. Paolo fell in love with beer. An American, I think also the North American scene of beers and homebrewing beers. And Paolo's a fine brewer. Greg as well. Like they're both really fine brewers. They work in Quebec City together for quite a while. And then Paolo started Emporium. And at Emporium, they focus a lot on IPAs and barrel aged stouts and a whole lots of beers. But I think that's the main core of their menu. They have a really
with this pale ale, it's got that awesome floral hop kick. Like it's heavily hopped.
Exactly.
But it's all in like leaning towards chamomile and like fresh hay and
exactly. And I mean, it must have evolved because
they've nice light pale light barrel character.
So so Le Fol was born of a desire to make solely and purely barrel aged beers, right? So anyone who's in the barrel aged beers and they make beautiful beer, very quenchable. They're not heavy on the acidity. Depends on the style they're making, but those pale ales, a very nice balance between hop and barrel age. I think those ones were red wine barrels. So red wine barrels is something that at the beginning of our cooperage, I used to get from France because France to Montreal was cheaper per container than to ship barrels from California. So the barrel were cheaper in California, but the shipping was so expensive that it was still a better option for us to get barrels from Bordeaux. So that's
neat.
They just it sounds more exotic anyways, Bordeaux barrels than Napa barrels anyways.
I mean, depends of the winery, I would say, but I agree.
Sure.
It sounds definitely more, I would say also the
maybe
climate.
More romantic,
Yeah, exactly.
If you're in France, maybe you want the Napa barrels, and over here we're like, ooh, Bordeaux, wow.
Well, funny anecdote. A funny anecdote that can shed light to from their perspective. Brewers in France actually buy barrels from us through a partner company that we've developed. So it's a broker that similar to us. It's like a broker, but they have also really good coopering skills, and they sell barrels in France and other countries in Europe. And so we sell barrels to them, they sell barrels to us. They started buying Chardonnay barrels from BC. So we started getting Chardonnay barrels and they started buying them because I had a affordable price for it. And what brewers were telling me is the white wine barrels from Burgundy, the Chardonnay from Burgundy, are so buttery and so heavy, where the Chardonnays from Okanagan had more minerality and was fresher. So they ended up just buying that. So we actually send about maybe 50 to 100 Chardonnay barrels from Canada to France every year now.
Oh, that's rad.
For brewers.
For brewers. Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's neat.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I never thought about a Chardonnay influencing the beer. That's interesting kind of quality. It would give it really nice softness, I think.
It's a nice softness. And actually Pit Caribou, so the brewery we're going to be talking about today too, they use white wine barrels, but they prefer a more a heavier profile. I would say like more not oily but like buttery. Profile of like what the Chardonnay really comes out usually in North America. So for them, that's what they prefer.
Interesting.
So that's neat.
Yeah. I've always been kind of like just trying to get basically neutral barrels of like when it comes to wine and like that. I mean, it's still going to have lots of character to it. Like the oak's going to give vanilla flavor to the beer and have quality to it. But I've never thought to like, unless it was like a spirit, you know, where that's going to impart flavor. Like I've never thought about, oh, what wine was in this. It's interesting to think of. Yeah. Which beer do you have open there, or should we open one of these beers? I'm thirsty.
I opened the pale ale. I was pretty thirsty already, so I was just like, I'm getting into this. I was like, I don't want to start with the barley wine, but I'm excited to get into it.
Well, maybe whatever one you want to talk about first. Maybe the full, because
you've got the IPA there, Darren. I believe.
Pardon me.
You've got the IPA, I believe, there, Darren.
Yeah. I guess, we talked about the pale ale a bit. Do you have any information on this? I have an IPA de Flanders.
Yeah, you have the IPA de Flandre. Let me see. IPA de Flandre. So I'm
Thank
reading
you for correcting all of our pronunciation, by the way.
Oh, that's all right. No worries. Yeah.
We're not even really trying.
If I mean, you're not even, you can say Flanders. I mean, at this point, Flanders IPA. So IPA de Flandre is it's a blend of beers that was matured in European Chardonnay barrels this time.
Cool.
So yeah, exactly.
See if you get that oily, buttery character. Yeah.
Yeah.
You might actually. I'm trying to remember where they were from, but blonde beer, right? So I don't think it's like a red Rouge des Flandres.
I thought it was going to be like, I was thinking like a Flanders red ale, but it's pretty much light golden color. It's very carbonated.
If it's Flandre, that means that we should be finding acid notes like not like balsamic notes, because maybe that develops probably a lot over time. But I'm wondering, because I don't think I've had the opportunity to taste that beer, so you can maybe tell us, Darren.
Wow, it's definitely like a very like classic, like lambic inspired sour nose,
nice.
Which is interesting. Like really
cool.
kind of old school, kind of hop character in there too, and then lemony. Really nice zing to it, like really bright.
So you're
jealous.
Yeah.
Oh, but it's got like a little bit of acidity, but it smells more sour than it is. Like it smells more kind of like that old worldy lambic kind of style, but then in flavor, it's much more smooth and
Do you have light cherry notes coming in?
Maybe like pretty light. It's definitely very like there's like a fruity note to it. Now that it's in my head, now I'm getting like, oh, it's like buttery vanilla, like Chardonnay. Like I don't know if that's just because now it's implanted in my brain, but yeah.
You definitely probably have an impact of barrel and the tannins, and that oak tannins is giving off that texture.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's like super cherry, but like definitely some like peach skin, kind of like fruity peach stone fruit notes as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
I think it's
delicious.
Yeah,
it's really good.
Olivier, I think it's like really unique the fact that you're so involved in the end result as well. Like you know, your barrels come to you, but then you're also like you're seeing the impact. And I mean, we're asking you questions on barrels that have probably left your hand 2 years ago at least. You know, so
that is true.
It's probably really a bit of a it's probably neat to see these things come to life down the road, and then see if you can remember the origin story or the thing from that.
I think now it's beginning to be a little harder to remember exactly
as your distribution's getting bigger.
Yeah, exactly. I could open up, QuickBooks and figure out on the invoice and see what we sold down if we really want to.
Yeah.
But I think it's because we.
I think I wanted to ask if there was any barrel that you've gotten that like you have remembered, like, being unsure of how it was going to present, and then, being like, holy, aha, like you're talking, you used vermouth barrel.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I never tried that beer because that was sent so far away. In Quebec, it was sent to the brewery on the Magdalene Islands. So that was sent really far. I don't even know what they did, but we did really special barrels. So there's Avant-Garde Brewery in Montreal that have an extensive barrel aging program, and they have bought a lot of barrels with me, and they were not shy to try barrels. And I think one of the oddest yet they ended up understanding the flavor profile and making a beer that was working with. I think they made a really like a it was a stout, but it was like it was they called it black metal or something like that. I don't really remember exactly the name of it, but they had it was how do you call it again? Krauter, and it was a German barrel from north of Germany, and it was Krauter Liquor. So Krauter Liquor means herb liquor.
Crazy. Yeah. So that's like the traditional Jager kind of thing.
That is traditional Jager, exactly. And it was really interesting because the first time I put my nose in there, it was like it felt almost medicinal, which in beer and any other refined products,
most beverages,
not the best flavor that but at the same time it had that deep like licorice that was going on there. You had a lot of spices, you had a lot of licorice, some cinnamon as well. It was quite pungent. It was quite something, and it wasn't Jägermeister because they age in fooders, but it was like a craft or a smaller company in the north of Germany.
Sweet.
Neat.
Yeah, so that was like really, really fun.
That must have been very, very impactful.
Yeah. But the beer made it work, and I think that's what I was like the most impressed, because sometimes I'm able
designing a beer to put it in, and like that's gonna hold up to the barrel character and time. Yeah.
And more time than not, brewers know what to do with barrels. But I think the privilege that I have in this company is to more or less participate sometimes when, people have questions, and we kind of throw ideas around, and if one of my idea lands, well, it's fine, right? I'm not taking any recognition.
Yeah.
Like it's fun afterwards when you try the beer and you're like, that's so cool that, I put it in a little process.
Yeah.
Yeah. You ever feel like you've got everything dialed in except fermentation?
Oh yeah. If your yeast isn't consistent, the whole batch can go sideways.
That's why we've been checking out Yeast Canada Innovations. They're Canadian-owned, brewer-focused, and they get what you need. Reliable strains, solid flavor, and real support when things get weird.
And shipping is smooth. They've partnered with Hops Connect, so your yeast comes from the same warehouse, BC, Ontario, or Quebec, right with your hops.
Even better, if you ship together, your yeast ships for free.
And they're not charging premium prices either. The pricing is super approachable, which means more budget for the fun stuff, like more beer.
Here's the kicker. If you're listening to this podcast, you can get 5% off your first order at yeastcanada.com. Just hit up their team for the code.
Yeast Canada Innovations. Let's elevate your craft. It's awesome. Yeah. You've kind of put a bit of like a Canadian stamp on some of your barrels now with the like maple brulee barrels. Do you want to tell us a little bit about how that came about?
Yeah. I mean, I think this is the culmination. This is the mix of like me wanting to make barrels, but then obviously seeing that making barrels will not bring me anywhere because the market in Canada is too small for new oak barrel. Like there's definitely there's so many people out there using new oak barrel, but before you can convince them, there's going to be a couple $1 million that you're going to have to put in. So and a lot of effort.
Yeah,
a lot of effort.
For people that don't know, like what kind of costs go into making barrels, the one that jumps out to me is just like you need to have a lot of wood that's got to age for a long time before you even start. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. And that alone, and also it's like, what is the scale of your cooperage in order to bring the cost of that barrel down to the point of, for a distillery that is already struggling financially at, depending on where they are in Canada. But actually, it doesn't really depend where they are. They all struggling. And so making whiskey for them is an expensive endeavor, and so you have to be competitive in price. You have to be top quality. So like you just mentioned there, and that wood air dried staves for American oak now, and whiskey making is something that you see more. And the reason behind it is that as opposed to like aging the air drying the staves for 6 months, that is, that was the old case, that was the old practice at the time in the bourbon scene and in the whiskey in the new oak manufacturing process. But now they're seeing that if you air dry staves for 24 months and plus, right? Starting at 12 months, you're like already there, but the whiskey that you're going to be making are going to be much smoother, much faster, because you won't have all those grain, all those new green profile or like green leafy notes that you can find in new oak. Yeah, exactly.
So you're trying to like almost age the oak. Like the oak is aged before the liquor is aged.
Yeah, exactly.
So that you don't have to age the liquor as long. Is that kind of
exactly?
Yeah?
It makes total sense, because that stave is being rained on. It's subject to the elements. It's subject to even microbial and fungal influence, right? So these fungus and these microbes are gonna, on the surface of the wood, they're definitely gonna have to find energy. So they through enzymatic action will provide hydrolysis reaction and all sorts of like other small reactions through time that'll happen in the course of 12 to 24 months. That's something that that's something that you can't really recreate, right? So
just time.
So that's like first step. You haven't even made a barrel yet. We're just at the beginning, and then it's a good 5-10 million of like oak that you need to lay down.
Wow.
And I'm saying like 5-10, it could be 1 million, it could be 2 million, it could be 20 million, but what I'm saying is, like, before you find the scale, how many barrels a year is your capacity, and basically that gives you your cost per unit. And that's like very important, because otherwise, like, how can you just manage a factory like this, right? And so after all this is said and done, you need to be able to be sure of your quality process, be sure of the tools, right? There's going to be a lot of tools involved. There's going to be a pretty big facility, because barrels takes a lot of space. And then you get to sell them.
Probably only so much automation too that can be done. Like, it's a lot of manual labor.
There's a lot of manual labor, but the new oak barrel, the American oak barrel, is very mechanized. You can.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you have facilities in the US that are using quite a lot of robots now, like just handlers robots, like taking the head, moving it from one station to the other. Raising the barrel is still done by hand. So putting all the staves right around next to each other, that's still done by hand. But then bending will be mechanical. Making the angles on the stave is now a CNC jointer. So you'll just put a straight stave, a rectangle stave, right? That's like an 1.1/8 thick, maybe 1 to 4 or 5 inches wide, and then the CNC will just cut the angles and give that curve to the stave, that curvature to the stave. Yeah. So
interesting.
Crazy.
So
let's talk about the brulee barrels. This is why you're not doing it.
I was like, this is all the reasons why I decided no, and no one in Quebec, I can explain that to no one in Quebec well enough for them to say, oh yes, I do have extra $5 million to get into this crazy project. So basically how the maple brulee started was, the maple brulee starts with a maple syrup barrel. And at the time, people were starting to ask me like, hey, I want to age my stout, I want to age my beers or my whiskey or my rum in a maple syrup barrel. You obviously look and sound like the guy that would sell maple syrup barrel as right. So
they're not wrong.
And they're not, and not no. and so I was like, oh, obviously, like I started looking into it and everything, and then it ended up being a whole bunch of things. So like I started knocking on doors in Vermont, knocking on doors in Quebec, in Maine, in New Hampshire, and then a lot of these maple syrup producers wanted to age maple syrup in whiskey barrel. So that's more or less the beginning of that barrel. But the problem is that, well, you guys mentioned it, like beer can re-ferment in bottles. Beer can also re-ferment in sweet maple syrup barrels, and that was definitely an issue for a lot of brewers. But the one thing that we initially noticed when we started buying these barrels is the high level of sugar, of residual sugar that has in maple syrup, actually creates a drying effect of the barrel. So it's pulling the humidity out of the barrel,
like through osmotic pressure.
Through osmotic, exactly. Yeah, as it's like, crazy. I don't know if it's trying to become sap again, but like I think it's like that's where it's trying to do, kind of. And so think of like it kind of
I'm
have
opening
a mind
this
of
up
its
now.
own.
This sounds great. This is the La
Chalumeau. Chalumeau. Yeah, Chalumeau. Chalumeau.
From Piqueur. And this is, they're located Cap d'Espoir?
And Cap d'Espoir, right next to Percé. So Percé would be maybe more known of people in Quebec. It's in the Gaspésie region, so it's like 12 hours from Montreal. It's a little close. It's not far.
It's literally like the closest to the Maritimes Quebec can be.
Yes, more or less. Yeah, it's literally by the sea. The brewery is by the sea. It's an old, I don't know if it's an old fishing ground or an old like fishing facility, but it's literally by the sea. It's beautiful. And they made an English style barley wine, which is, I believe, I think it's 9% alcohol.
It's like beautiful, like golden amber. I got it in my stout goose weathered glass from the Weathered Beer Fest. But
stout goose. That's nice. You were talking about how the barrels are losing moisture,
and they leak.
Are you doing something? And they leak because when they get dry. So are you doing anything to kind of like mitigate that so that it's more beer worthy, I guess?
Well, exactly. I think that's exactly how it was created. I was like, well, if I were a brewer using that, what could I do as a young cooper to, make that barrel usable for brewers? And I think that's exactly when we started looking at using fire. So we started thinking, well, let's open the barrel and caramelize. So using the fire to both sterilize the inside surface. We would do the same thing on the inside heads of the barrel. And we just caramelize all the residual sugar that are stuck in the staves, right? The staves are soaked with maple syrup. There's residual maple syrup at the bottom that we keep and that we spread around the inside surface as well to kind of make a nice coating. And we started playing with that, and we started seeing a lot of really cool flavors that were a lot more complex than plain maple syrup flavor, which is great on its own, but can be overwhelming in my opinion sometimes. And so, a lot of trial and errors. That started in 2018, and then first was 2019. We filled it with an Imperial Stout. I never had the chance to try it. I don't know what happened in the brewery. It's in Montreal. It's a Beauregard brewery.
So this is a pretty new, is this one of the first brulee barrels you've tried at this point?
I've tried Brulee. The name of the beer is Brulee. It's Bellwoods in Toronto. They've they made a double barrel age. So it was like a bourbon barrel aged beer that they aged in the Brulee barrels, which was
whoa.
Oh yeah,
that's rad.
Oh, that stuff was really good. I think it sold out very quickly too. I was able to do it. Yeah.
This beer has it's really cool because it's like doesn't seem overtly sweet at all, but then on the exhale you get like this incredible deep maple flavor.
On the exhale, I agree.
Yeah. It does, like, it's, to me, I'm not like, it's very different than just as if I had like, poured maple syrup in a beer.
Yeah,
exactly.
No, it's great. It's got this like, I would think like just like, oh man, like a barley wine with maple to me would be like super sweet, like you're saying, but it has like, it's like a darker fruit kind of flavor to it. Not just like I poured maple syrup, and it's not just like that thin, like kind of just sugary, white sugary texture. It's like
I think you're putting your finger on. You're putting your finger on it, because what the first flavors that, so one way that we work, and the basic one way that I work, when we do kind of that kind of exploration with barrels is I'll just like write down those flavors that are coming through whenever they're coming through, and then at some point like it kind of narrow down the kind of the stuff that comes out more often. And I think the maple brulee fits really well with barley wine because the caramelized maple flavors that's mixed also with whiskey and oak. So you got toasted oak, you got the action of our flame. So we basically char that surface, not like you saw in the cooperages where they char the barrels like on fire because that's like syrup. Yeah. So we just like more or less making candy at some point. It's just very
you've got that great image of the barrel where it's like literally just like dripping hot lava.
Yeah, exactly. No, exactly. It's literally like hot lava.
Like... Have you tried it? Like, have you eaten it just like that? And how good does that taste?
Yes, many times over. Every single time that I pass by.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting for the Tonnellerie Moreau Cabernet Sucre.
I know the sugar shack. Yeah, exactly. The barrel aged sugar shack, the most expensive candy there is.
Barrel aged candy. Now we're talking.
But you have a lot of those dark malts and caramelized malts that comes out of the maple brulee. I think it just like enhances that barley wine. It's really
and yeah, it's like a toasted marshmallow too, in the sense that you're still getting that, like you're getting that vanilla structure from the wood and like from the whiskey, but then there's that bit of that burnt sugar, that caramelization, and then it's like still distinctly maple. Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys pick it up, but I have a little bit of like s'mores almost as well, like you said marshmallows, but like you have that malts that are coming.
The malts giving that graham cracker character.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very cool, and lots of structure to it too. It's like
with that you gotta give credit to the brewer at Pit Caribou. He's a malt master. He never likes. He hates the attention. I'm sure he would hate if I said his first name right now. So let's indulge him with some respect. But no, he's great. He's great. His name is Pascal. And he's been working there forever, I think since day one or something.
Another thing I wanted to chat about that I thought was really cool, and which is kind of like why we ended up getting in touch, is your work with Godspeed. And also from there, you've also talked about there's a growing trend in I guess wood-aged lagers, people converting fooders into clean product again instead of like a Solera type of thing.
Yes.
Could you talk a little bit about maybe your experience of developing these pitch recipe?
So this is like
pitch process, and then moving that forward to cleaning. Essentially, cleaning is the best way I can put it.
No, I know. I think it's exactly. So it started with before Godspeed, just before Godspeed, but it's crazy because like it felt like planets were aligned. There's this brewer Alex Ganivet-Boileau who worked at the cooperage. So he worked at Trois Mousquetaires. Have you heard of Trois Mousquetaires?
Yeah.
Right? So
they're well distributed. Yeah.
They're really well distributed. Yeah. Really good beer. Yeah. They're one of the first as well, like Pit Caribou. A lot of bourbon barrel age, a lot of barrel age stuff. They're really cool. I actually did my first, I think, professional brewing class there. So if I remember correctly.
Oh, cool.
And Alex actually was just beginning as a brewer there. But he started working with me at the cooperage, and then he had left that brewery and had started a brewery called Lagerbräu, who's a small production of beers, very, very fun lager focused production and lager focused brewery that just opened a couple years ago. And we started talking about pitch lining because I started looking into some videos of Urquell, and then I stumbled a video of Urquell, and I saw these like heritage cooper. And when I say heritage coopers, like these guys are paid to be traditional coopers for visitors because that's not how they make all the Urquell beer, because Urquell is just like, you know what I mean? So that's why I call them heritage
Darren
coopers.
and I have both been there, and it's
Oh, you've been?
Wow. It's a neat experience. But
oh, I need to go. Yeah, exactly. So I saw the video. I was like, this is insane. Like really piqued my curiosity again. And so I started talking about it with Alex, and Alex was like, well, I mean, I'm also thinking about it. I just don't know how to incorporate it. So I started digging, like I usually do with beer, all the books. Now it's like pitch lining. So looking into pitch lining, I found that it was a natural recipe with natural ingredients, and it's something that's not supposed to get off taste. So basically the main thing is like pitch lining is the traditional way to keep beer in a cellar, because that's what they did in Pilsen, right? That's what they did over there. They needed to keep it cold, and then they want to have the oak impact. And
also protect against oxygen as well, right? Like kind of before
exactly
stainless was
exactly. So I think you have that. We started buying organic resin from several trees, several coniferous trees, and mix of beeswax and other natural waxes. And so we started making our own pitch basically. And then we did an experimental beer that was in 225-liter barrels. So they were neutral barrels that we pitched, and Alex made a beer. I think he did a 60-day lagering in the barrel a little bit before, and then 60 in the barrel. But then right at that time, you have Luc from Godspeed, who like Pit Caribou and Dieu du Ciel and all these really old, breweries that build the culture of beer that we know today, that started the beer culture we know today.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Luc worked at Dieu du Ciel.
Luc, as I was gonna say, was from Dieu du Ciel. Yeah.
Is not the founder, which I learned after meeting him, but definitely was very much involved in the process.
Very early,
very early on, before his escapades to Japan and his desire to like bring all this back to Toronto. That was so cool. So he contacts me and he's like, I started doing this with Urkel, and right, I think for most people know the story. So Godspeed contacted Urkel, and the brewers and the coopers there made 2 40-hecto traditional fooders for him, and he went there and worked with the guys and kind of like showed him the ropes and had pretty good amount of pitch for him to use on the fooders. So the fooders were already pitched, and so he needed, after a couple I think 1 to 2 years of using them, he's like, I need to repitch them, right? I have leftover pitch. And have you guys been there before? Have you been to that brewery?
Azlan has. I have not. No.
And at that point, I was there. I think literally probably 6 to 8 months before you did your repitching. So at that point, they were empty. And Jeff was like letting me know. He's like, they're kind of like, we're trying to figure out what we're doing next. We can't. They're not holding pressure. And it's not safe to put beer in them, especially at 40 hex.
Exactly. And I think that was the issue. And it took a long time before we nailed the plan and what the course of action, because he wanted also to incorporate cooling. I think it was like coils or something, or flags.
Cooling plates or something.
But we had a little bit of problems with the person at play that was taking care of stainless and everything. And I was like, well, I mean, on my side, I was like, I'm ready. Like I'm a 4-hour train right away. I'll just be there. But like the other guy was. So I said to Luc, I said, hey, we're gonna put this off. Let's just put it back for another time. So it took a while, right? I think it was definitely maybe a stressful time for him and the fooders. But we ended up doing it, and I said, like, let's just do the pitch first, and then we can incorporate the cooling system after. So we're doing it in 2 steps. I don't know where we're at now with the cooling system, but the pitch was needed. So the problem with all this, and that's why they called us, is like, how do you move around a 40-hecto fooder when you have a glass wall covered
bay,
bay windows and a very
tight street with street cars. It's
in the middle of Toronto. And I'm like, and at the beginning I was like, I think we're just gonna go and like steal some railroads, like old railroads, and then we're gonna put them in the back alley. We're gonna roll the barrel on that so it doesn't roll on the asphalt, so it doesn't score or hurt and damage the barrel.
Right.
We're just throwing ideas around, and then at some point we ended up saying like, hey, we're gonna clean out the front patio, and we're gonna do it there. Like, we started taking some measurements, and if you go on their Instagram, there's actually a video.
Yeah,
I've seen a video of it. Yeah, I can't remember where. We'll try to link it if we could remember.
I think it's and it's a good way to see how. And there was like, I shit you not, guys, there was like 10 inches on each side of space
between something that will literally crush your body.
I know,
Yeah.
or damage the building more.
Yeah.
Or so it was so meticulous, and
you're literally
very,
playing
very
Donkey Kong.
Yes.
Well, and you have to like, so that, I guess for people that don't, like, imagine this huge barrel, 40 hectoliter barrel. A normal barrel is 2 hectoliters, or like 200 liters. This is 20 times the size of that. Trying to roll it around, and then I'm assuming the pitch that you're trying to line the barrel with is like very, very hot.
Oh
Is
yeah,
that
we're
how
talking
it works?
about
Yeah.
we're talking about heating. It's a substance that has no water, so it can take in a lot of energy, a lot of heat. So it's 200 degrees plus when you pitch it in there.
So you're like, handling this 200 degree plus liquid inside of a huge wooden barrel. Try not to scald yourself, and then trying to roll it in such a way that it's going to get every like crevice of the barrel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it was
sounds stressful.
It was a lot of so I think this project really kicked. So I brought in the experience of manipulating and moving that foeder without touching anything.
Yeah.
And he brought his experience that he is, learned from the guys at Urkel, which was the reason why this project worked. Otherwise, I don't think it would have worked. I think, I would have probably up somewhere. I would have done something not right. So I think it's like the reason it worked. It was like, we were a team, Jeff, me, Luc, and oh my God, I forgot his name. The other brewer there. Anyways, sorry. We had so much fun.
It's okay. We'll cut it out.
But yeah, so it was a teamwork, a big teamwork. It was fun.
But then recently I saw on your Instagram, did you just do the same process with Messorium?
We did, yeah, exactly. So that's after that.
So now it's tried and true.
Exactly. I said to the guys, like, there's no way we can do any other mistake. And then also these guys had like they have the biggest patio outside, the terrace, right? It's huge, right? So they had so much space, so it made that job much easier. But it didn't come without a challenge, because it wasn't a round foeder; it was a trunk conical tank, and that sets with a stainless steel top.
Oh wow!
That had mixed fermented beers before. So the challenge was the movement because of the shape of the foeder. The foeder was 30 hectos. It was roughly the same size as Godspeed's foeders, but it was a tank. So instead of being able to roll like anyone would roll a barrel, it would kind of like just roll in a donut shape instead of rolling in like a straight line.
So getting it up towards the top staves is pretty hard.
Yeah, exactly. Again, there's a video. I think there's some material there on the Messorium's Instagram and socials, and I think this is worth seeing. But the other real challenge was like they had used it for another type of beer, which was something that I kind of like. I said, I'm not liable.
Yeah. If your first lager is sour, like
yes, I mean
that's on you. Yeah.
But through discussion, we were pretty confident of ourselves, and I think Gabriel, who's one of the brewers there, one of the main brewers, who actually, brewed a lot, many years in Pit Caribou, so I knew him from there. So we're really good friends. So he's like, let's figure it out. So through a couple talks and a couple conversations, we're like, I mean, that thing is 200 degrees. He took like 3 days, I think, using steam or a combination of steam or boiling hot water to kind of mitigate the risk of deviation and future contamination. So
interesting.
So at this point, I think when we talked before, you're like, I'm working on a process to bring essentially wild oak to a neutral point again. Is that what this is?
Yeah, that was a good way to see it. It's like If so, for maybe smaller barrels like 225, I think this is something that we offer in house, right? So those are going to be our 225 liter barrels. I'm not going to be able to process everyone's barrel back into like lagering vessels.
No.
So we decided to look at like 506 liter barrel minimum for a brewer to say, can we use these barrels and then change them into that? In this sense, like this process would kind of like be more I would say like worth our time, because otherwise it's the same time, but it's not as expensive. So I think like for it to be worth it for the brewer and for the cooperage, we decided to do 500 liter minimum barrels. Yeah,
that or like fooders, I guess, would be a good like candidate too, because I'm sure there's a lot of brewers that like bought some big fooders with big goals back in 2012 like we're gonna make like a lot of that kind of sour beer, and now they're like sitting on them, and
exactly. And it's
I mean, it might be costly to change them into a lagering vessel, but you'll get a free tank, or not free. You'll get a tank out
exactly.
of it.
That's what I'm telling them, and I'm not really afraid to share the price. It's like depending on the size, depending on where you are, also because I have to come to your place, come to you. But let's say that you're not so far. It's maybe between 2,000 and 4,000, right, for like a 20 hectoliter tank. So I think it's like, okay, so I buy a new stainless steel tank and I make lagers out of it, or do I want to go into a more traditional Czech lager avenue?
Right.
And then, I think this is what I'm obviously selling, is like, it's not going to change the taste of your beer. Just like stainless is very angular and it doesn't change the taste of your beer, but it's definitely going to bring a very interesting and traditional craftsmanship story to your production. And it's also very interesting for you as like, a never learning brewer that's always, looking for making new styles, right? So I think it's also interesting for those reasons. So,
cool.
And HLP are coming out negative, so the beer seems not to be contaminated. So
that's great.
That's great. You're doing your due diligence and like not just being like, let's see how it goes in 2 years.
No, exactly. but I'm following up with Gabriel, like every brew, like we're gonna be following up. I want to see where this goes before, right? So as of now, it's like, it's something that we do have experience. We do have, people that you can call and kind of like reference. And if you want to make your own due diligence as a brewer before we move ahead, because it is a little bit of unknown territories, but yeah.
That's awesome. That's a huge thing for people to be like a little bit more flexible when they may have like, deviated in one direction, and then repurposing something instead of just being like, my fooder's worth nothing. I paid 10 grand for it 2 years ago, and especially now I can't sell it.
Especially because I'm sure a lot of people are like, it's just sitting there in their brewery or in their warehouse, kind of doing nothing, right? Like, I mean, you might as well. You probably don't want to sell it because it's hard to sell that. You might as well get something out of it while it's sitting there. So I think it's a great kind of solution for that problem.
I think it ended up becoming a very good solution for this trend. And I don't think it's a trend that's going to fade away, because I don't think as early or maybe second generation, brewers, or I don't want to call myself a brewer when I say this, like I'm excluding this from that, but like as second generation, we're not getting old, we're not geting younger, and lagers is something that we're probably going to keep drinking for a long time.
That's true. So,
yeah.
And I must say, when we were very fortunate, like when I first met Jeff, and then when we actually had him on the podcast,
such a cool guy.
That was when we had they had just repitched, and there was their first release of Sklepnik, their pitch line 12 degree, I believe, and it was incredible. The impact, the character, the like a pitch lined lager is, I mean, if you've been to Pilsner Urquell and you had it, they try and give you this story that the reason they do this is because they can like control it and can say that the stainless is as good as the way they did it before. It's not. The pitch line beer is way different and in a way that's incredible.
And if anyone wants to learn more about like Godspeed and those pitch line barrels, we did a episode with Jeff from Godspeed.
Yeah.
Episode 13.
Episode 13, if you want to go back and listen to it. It was really cool. But yeah.
Another thing I wanted to bring up quickly. For a lot of our listenership is in BC currently. You've sold beers to Tristan from Temporal Brewing.
Some barrels, yeah.
Sorry. I reached out to him. He was saying French whiskey barrels from La Pitié. Both peated and on. Sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. I don't know if you can pull this one off actually.
No. Correct pronunciation.
So I think it's La Piotre.
La Piotre.
Yeah,
I need a bit more phlegm in my throat on the R. Yeah.
So French single malt. I think it was.
Yeah, he said he got both peated and unpeated.
Yeah, exactly.
And then also an ex-cognac single malt barrel from Ninkasi in France.
From Ninkasi, yeah. So Ninkasi bought a cognac barrel to mature or do a long finish of their single malt.
Yeah, and then he was saying both of those. If people are looking for stuff that it like close to us, I guess. He said those beers will be incorporated in blends coming up hopefully late this year to early next year.
Oh wow! I can't wait.
Barley wines and Adam beer.
Oh sweet!
Wow! Adam's beer. I cannot wait. I mean, so these barrels are. Did you want to talk about these like finishing barrels a little bit?
Because let's do it. Yeah.
So I think this
is unique. Like French whiskey, I think is I don't know, something I didn't even know existed.
It's two things, right? Yeah, it's first of all, it's French whiskey barrels, right? So the main part of the profile is a whiskey, but it's also a single malt. You can maybe like the equivalent would be a Scotch single malt. But the difference is that those are finishing barrels, right? So if I can do like a quick 30-second course, is like there's maturation and there's finishing in whiskey and other spirits as well, but mainly this comes with whiskey. You mature in a barrel, and most of the time would be a bourbon barrel or a rye barrel for the main part of the maturation life of the whiskey, and then towards the end of the life of the whiskey, you will put this whiskey into what we call a finishing barrel, right? So whiskey producers and Scotch whiskey producers will do a short aging after that. So they'll transfer the whiskey into a second barrel, and that's what you call finishing. And so
is that when they incorporate things like sherry or
exactly, you have sherry and all of the sweet wines of the world, right? So if you look at every single country's making sweet wines or oxidative wines or maybe like biologically active wines like sherry. I would say like let's say sherry fino is like a wine that's like alive. They're all alive, but I mean literally like they don't top the barrels, so there's an actual like film and a pellicle of yeast and bacteria that protects the wine from oxygen, but those yeast are actually giving a lot of nutty flavor to the wine, even if it's like a crystal clear white wine. So they use that to finish whiskey in. They don't rinse the barrel, they transfer the whiskey on all those wine lees, and you get amazing flavors coming from those whiskeys, right? So
wow,
the finishing world is quite something, and I think some finishing casks are less known, but using cognac barrels, Armagnac barrels, and other fine spirits to finish single malt in is a very interesting practice. So in short, that's what Temporal got. That's what he got. Yeah.
So is that like a French thing, or is that happening all over the world? Like these finishing
it's
barrels?
more of a whiskey thing. It's more a whiskey thing.
Okay.
I think it's French because it's a French distillery that makes whiskey. And I mean, cognac is from France, so they just called, people in cognac and got a hands on cognac barrels.
Gotcha. Yeah. So it's like a single malt whiskey. They got some cognac barrels and put the whiskey in it to finish it
for
and
30
then
months.
Emptied it out.
Yeah.
And then they send it over to you, and you send it to Tristan.
Correct.
And then we get to drink it maybe at the end of this year. It's like
Exactly.
a 5
Exactly.
year process.
Exactly.
Okay.
But what's really fun, and that's why this, yeah, that's why I'm very happy to be able to communicate in French with these guys, is because well, we're in Montreal, we're close to Montreal port, so, and I'll be able to talk about like a really cool project that I'm working on right now. I think it's just gonna make you guys want to age beers in barrels again, hopefully. But
Man,
I think it's,
man, if the market's there, I'd be doing all of it. But
yeah, exactly. No, I know. But yeah, I think it's like a lot of culture behind these barrels, right? A lot of like elements of culture. So it's bringing a lot of cool notes, and I'm sure, yeah, Tristan is a great candidate to like find the right beers to bring all this into that.
Well, you brought up this cool project that you want to get us
go ahead.
to barrels. We're not going to hold you back from it.
So I've started like digging into the small producers of France. There's so it's an Armagnac producer. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with Armagnac.
No, I'm not. No.
Okay, so Armagnac is south of Cognac, and it's it's an old Arabic word. That's where it comes from, and it's the ancestor of. That's the first place in France where the first still was, brought into the territory from the Arabs from North Africa.
Oh, okay, crazy.
Right. So, and that's where they started making the first spirits is in Armagnac. And so Armagnac is a brandy. So it's a distillate of grapes. And then basically the producer that I was put in contact with is a castle. It's obviously they're all castles, right? The distilleries is like that chateau of this, chateau of that. But so it's a castle that started making Armagnac in 1868, and he's got 9 barrels, only 9 barrels. I think they're 400-liter barrels. So he's got 9 barrels to empty soon, and they were filled only once, and that started in 1979. And so the barrels, the spirit that's in there was distilled in 1979, and he's going to empty it, put it in bottles, and sell it. And then he's
single
like,
use?
well, single use. Yeah, exactly. That's particularity of like his distillery. His distillery is like he only does single use, so he buys barrels every year. And how to say, the youngest spirit that he sells at his shop is 24 years old, and I you not when I say this. You can go on his website. We can link the site. It's Chateau de Castandet, and the distiller is 93 years old.
So he's seen like 3 turns, and that's assuming that he started like distilling at 16.
Basically, and it is and saw a small documentary because of the person that put me in contact with him is we call them in French caviste, but they're like, it's in English would be just like a shop owner, right? They sell spirit in their shop, but he basically goes to like these small producers who makes really, they don't have an Instagram, they have a HTML website, like it all seems really really Windows 95. And so
they built their website the same time as Space Jam.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. And that was the only time. And then he buys spirits from them, but he makes his own bottles, right? He makes like special collabs, special bottles. So he like kind of like refreshed the image of spirits, French spirits, right? So it's a pretty cool mission. So so we're gonna get these barrels in November. They're going to be over 30 years old, close to 40, and they've only had once Armagnac. So Armagnac is a very fruity spirit, a very fruity brandy, because they comes out of the still. Unlike cognac that comes out of the still at 70, which 70 is still fruity and gives a lot of beautiful aromatics, but it's still towards neutrality. Armagnac comes out of the still at 56. So what that means for people that don't know is just it's the closer it is to the lower the ABV is, then the fruitier and the more character and the more intensity that you can pick up from that spirit. So they like to say that the Armagnac is better than Cognac because it's fruitier, it's closer to the terroir, it's closer to the grape, right? To all this stuff, which makes sense.
Yeah.
So
yeah, if they're not pulling as much water out, then it's more true.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're looking at making like a barley wine, if you want to make or maybe a tripel would be like a Dubel in Armagnac cask would be a very beautiful style to kind of go with
totally
the dry figs
Sweet.
and the fruitiness. Yeah,
very cool. And there are 400 liters, you said, or like that? What was the size?
Yes, there are 400 liter barrels. Yeah,
sweet.
I'm gonna have barrel dreams tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, welcome to my world.
Yeah.
Do you know how many times you say beer in a day? It's about the same. This is the same amount as I say barrel.
Yeah.
Every single day.
So we've talked a lot about beer and barrels and barrel-aged beers being made here in Canada. What's exciting you about the Canadian brewing industry right now? And I guess like where do you see barrels being incorporated in the future?
Oh, that's a very good question. I really like the scene right now because I think I mentioned it today with like us aging kind of, but I think the fact that we're going towards lagers, you know, obviously like we're drinking like barley wine tonight, but that's definitely not something that we would drink every single day.
This is like a snapshot back to like 5 years ago.
Exactly. Yeah. To like double, triple IPAs and then lining up a couple of heavy stouts and triples.
Yeah, barley wine is life. Yeah.
So I think that the scene right now going to like more refined European style beers is something that I'm quite glad to see the market going in Canada. It doesn't mean that barrel is dead. I think it's more like exactly. I think the beer that we're drinking today is very much the example of like how to use barrel, right? Because it's a sweet barrel, it's a maple brulee barrel. There is risk of re-fermentation, but then the brewer was able to use his experience to make a fine beer. And if you do that, and if you're able to achieve that, and if you don't make too much, also I think it's like what's left with beer and barrels is like, well, you can make some, but you can't make too much, right? I don't think we're done with the time that, you know, breweries are calling me and they're like, hey, I need 100 barrels. Can you send me 100 bourbon barrels? Like this doesn't happen anymore. Or it does, but it doesn't happen very often, right? It only happens for one or two clients in Canada. So I would say focus on barrel aged beers because you like them and also because you know what you want to do. If you know what you want to do, I feel that you're going to do something good. And if you do something good, I think people are going to buy it because you're going to be able to talk about it, because you're going to be able to, you know, create moments with that stuff. So I think that's how I would take it.
I mean, the aha moments I've had today are awesome. Like I'm just like, whoa, these beers are incredible, and this is
that's true.
Great showcase.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, well, thanks to the brewers. I mean, they did most of the work. They did most of the cleaning. But I like where Canada's going right now with the lagers. I think it's like quite unanimous when you travel from province to province. It's like people are
100%. Yeah,
there is diversity. There is so many stuff, but there is also that trend towards refreshing lagers, something that is digest and on point. And I mean, everybody works so hard. What's best than not just having like a fresh lager after work, right? So I think this is
it's thirsty work.
I mean, after pitching those fooders in Toronto and not hitting the wall and not scorching ourselves, that's Klepnik was the best thing.
So when you're not at the cooperage, how do you spend your time?
I don't make alcohol. I make alcohol, but I do a little bit of collabs. But outside of work, I play a lot with fermentation at home, and I actually play with koji rice and
fun.
Asperges oryzae. So I like to make like soy sauce and, you know, using the koji spores to make rice koji barley and then use it in my kitchen
and all of that.
Yeah, I'm not in shoyu yet. I have I'm planning my next miso batch, but I like to play with that stuff at the moment. And incorporate it into like barbecuing and Japanese cooking. So
that's fun.
Sweet.
So yeah.
Awesome.
Gears are always turning.
Yeah.
I mean, mixed fermented beers brought me to coopering, and now what can I do to kind of?
Next thing you know, we'll have bourbon miso barrels. Get that umami in there.
I mean, the reason. Obviously, I use the koji for fun is for the umami quest. I did make a whiskey, but it's like unaged. It's still like white spirit, or it's like unaged whiskey.
Yeah,
new make. It's like new make, but it's like pure barley, koji barley. So I grew koji on barley and then made a beer with it using Gvike yeast because I thought with the gnarly system that I had downstairs in my apartment, in my house here, I was like, Gvike will handle it and we'll make fruity stuff. And then I was able to reach, I think it was like 9.2%. And then we distilled it. We literally distilled it, and then we make this really nice little moonshine or new make that is actually like that really has and captures the umami of that koji and the I would say like almost fungus flavors and hummus.
Fun.
Yeah. So I do a lot of experimental stuff to kind of
keep the mind active.
Yeah.
Man, you seem like a busy guy.
Well, congratulations. I'm not a father yet. We're family planning right now, so I still have a little bit of time on my hands right now.
Yeah.
All my friends are like, wow, you have so much time on your hands. No, but I like to do it when I can, if I can.
Nice. Sweet. Well, thanks for doing this doing this podcast with us and staying up late. I know it's late for you, so we appreciate it.
That's fine. That is a pleasure.
If people want to buy a barrel, get in touch with you about their next like pitch lining project, how do they get in contact with you?
They can reach us on, Instagram is a great way to kind of like see the different projects that we talked about tonight. Tonnellerie Moreau or Moreau Cooperage. So Cooperage or Tonnellerie. You can find us on Instagram on Tonnellerie Moreau. Talk to a brewer that has barrels. They bought it from us. Maybe call Tristan. If you're in the BC area, Tristan has our contact. Azlan, you yourselves.
We'll link it all in here too. Yeah.
Exactly. I think it just starts it starts with being ready. There's no rush at buying barrels. It's like when the beer is ready, we'll send the barrels because we have a nice facility. So the barrels are fine here. Don't make the mistake to buy barrels and then make the beer in 2 months. So
Good note. Good tidbit.
Yeah.
Good to know. Yeah.
Everything it takes time with barrel aging, so you got time. Yeah. Exactly. But now's kind of a good time to start thinking about it. You're going into the winter dark months, time to start thinking about.
I would say not only that, but right now bourbon barrels, if you're into making bourbon barrel stouts or maybe tripel like Allagash, was making like a bourbon barrel aged tripel. I haven't seen that in Canada yet. I can't wait for someone to like pull this off again. But no,
I'll get on Mitch.
Yeah, exactly. Bourbon barrels are they're at their all-time lowest, right? We're back into 2018 prices. So when I got into the bourbon barrel business, so if people are looking for bourbon barrels, I think right now is the time to connect with us. We have barrels coming in every week and a half. Like I said, we're sending a lot of barrels to China. We're sending barrels to Scotland, to France, working on Japan right now. So though because it's international, it's usually volume, and because it's volume, then it brings the price down for everyone. So we're actually like a good reference right now, even if we're not in Kentucky. So yeah, please encourage a Canadian company. And I think you'll find it's less of a hassle to deal with us than to actually try to cross the border and deal your own logistics. So yeah, that's my message.
Sweet. Yeah, for sure. That's a good note. it's easier to deal with Canadian companies these days more than ever. I'm finding the same thing.
Yeah. You've already got it over the border.
Yeah, it's already there. You've done the hard work. Oh.
They're tightening the screw right now, so it's not so fun. But yeah.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for being on the podcast. Thanks everyone for listening to this episode of Why This Beer. We'll have more episodes coming soon as well. To recap, I guess, check out the Pit Caribou beer, Le Chalet Mieux. If you're out in Quebec, you can get it there. If you're out where we are, it's gonna be harder to get, but yeah. And we had the La Folle beers as well from Quebec, which were great. Thank you for sending those or getting them to Azlan, who sent them to me. Thank you for that. Pretty sweet treat. Thanks for listening, everyone. You can follow us on Instagram at Why This Beer. And if you want to support us, please support our sponsors and buy the beer that we make as well. You can buy Azlan's Main Street Brewing beer. Now the barley wine's kicking in. And the beer that I make here, and Penticton, which is neighborhood brewing beer, and Yellow Dog as well. Thanks everyone for listening, and until next time, cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.